Today we're going to be talking about form and matter. We talked about the hierarchy of being, essence and existence, substance and accidents. Now we're going to talk about form and matter. So, matter is the stuff out of which a thing is made. Right? Stuff. That's what I want you to think about when you think of matter. Stuff. Okay? It is a principle of potency. Matter can be put into all kinds of different shapes, all kinds of stuff like that. Doesn't matter whether it's put into one shape or another, right? That's what form determines. Matter is like a fluid in physics, right? What happens to a fluid in physics? What's one of the properties of a fluid? Takes the shape of the container it's put in, right? Okay. Matter, same thing. Takes the shape of whatever its form says. Okay. It can make an indefinite number of forms. Right, so I want you to imagine a block of clay, right? So clay is matter. And whatever form you put it into, that is its form. And you can smush it and make it into something new, and it gets a new form. Okay? So we understand matter? Yeah? Okay. Now, form. Organization that matter takes. So, simply put, this is what gives matter its shape. So if matter is the fluid inside of a vessel, if matter is the water inside of a water bottle, right, the bottle is its form. Right? You can have one of those tall, smart water bottles. You can have one of those little tiny bottles. You can have a bottle that's really weirdly shaped, right? Doesn't matter. The water remains the same. It's only the form that's different. Form is the kind of thing that it is and nothing else. What this means is that form is unique. Right? Matter, all kinds of stuff can happen with it, but form can only be that one thing. Questions on the basics of form and matter? Do I got that? This is probably one of the easier categories to understand in the hierarchy of being. But it does get a little bit complicated when we start talking about designated and undesignated matter and substantial and accidental form. Right? But it's something that we can easily understand as long as we're paying attention. So let's go ahead and pay attention. So, there are certain levels of form and matter composition. We talked about matter as a fluid, right? So, water, we agree that that's a fluid? Yeah? Okay. So, water can be put into a vessel, right? And that vessel becomes its form. Okay? Now, what is water made up of? Right? Specifically, what kinds of particles? Water particles, which are made up of?
H2O.
So, two hydrogens and an oxygen smashed together. Okay? So, what we then have is water being the form and hydrogen and oxygen being the matter. So you put hydrogen and oxygen together and you get water. Right? Water becomes the form and hydrogen and oxygen are the matter. Right? How do you get an atom? What makes up an atom? A-T-O-M, not A-D-A-M. Atom.
Nucleus.
So atoms have what? They have a nucleus, right? And they have neutrons, protons, and electrons. Subatomic particles, right? So the atom then becomes the form, and the subatomic particles become the matter, right? And this can go on even smaller, right? As small as we know. And it can get even bigger. Right? We could argue that the world is the form, and all the things in it are its matter. right? It scales really nicely. Because matter is the stuff out of which a thing is made. And form is what makes the matter into a particular shape or classification. It's very fluid like that. Right? Another way that you can think about it is you can think about a marble statue. Right? Or you can think about, actually, let's think about the statue of Mary out in the courtyard. Okay? So, what's that made out of? Anybody know?
The what?
The statue of Mary out in the courtyard. It's made out of cement or concrete, right? Now, what is the sidewalk made out of? Concrete. Same stuff, right? For all intents and purposes, it's the same stuff. So, is the matter the same?
Yes.
Yes, right? Both cases it's concrete, right? What's different?
The form.
The form. The form is what's different, right? Now, if we wanted to say that the matter, rather that the form was concrete, what makes up concrete? Rocks, water, right? A few other minerals, some sand, right? Stuff like that, right? That is the matter, which then makes up the form of concrete. Be understanding those different levels there? Yeah? Pete, you good? You got it? Different levels?
Right down.
Okay, now we have to talk about this stuff called prime matter. Right? This is what you get off of Amazon. Right? Because Amazon Prime. And get it. Yeah, it's a joke. You can laugh, it's okay. There you go. So, prime matter, right? This is totally unformed, pure potentiality. Pure materiality. Right? It is matter as matter, nothing else. It has no form. It is prime matter. Right? This stuff is indefinable. It is pure potency. Alright, so I want you to think back to long ago when we talked about essence and existence. Right? Essence just exists out there in the universe, right? But only once it took on an active existence did it come to really be in any kind of being, right? Same thing with prime matter, right? It is pure potency. It has no actuality. Only once it has a form does it have any kind of actuality. Only then does it actually come to be. Right? Being is a state of combination of act and potency. If something is only potency, it does not actually exist. Right? God, does he have any potency?
No.
No. God is pure act, which is why he is pure existence. His essence is his existence, because he is pure act. Pure potency is just that. It doesn't exist. It's an idea. All right, so I want you to think about this. Okay? Before so let's say you're composing a post for Instagram, right? Let's say you're getting ready to take a picture, post it on Instagram, right? Do it for the gram, okay? Now, before you actually take that picture, does it exist?
No.
No. But does it have the potential to exist? Yes. Does it actually exist? No. It is pure potency. Right? After you post it on Instagram, can you delete it?
Yes.
Yes. So once it's on Instagram, right, it has the potential to not exist, but it does actually exist. Right? So it's both. Right? Do we have the potential to not exist?
Yes.
Yes. Right? At some point we did not exist. We were potency. right? Currently we are potency and actuality, right? Because we have the possibility of not existing. So prime matter is pure potency. It is in itself undefinable. It is neither a substance nor of any other possible category of being. It is not essence or existence or substance or accident or form. It is prime matter. Nothing else. Next, we come to designated and undesignated matter. Okay. So the word designated, what does that mean? If you designate something.
A spot? A spot?
You assign it a spot or a purpose, right? This spray is designated for the use on expo boards or to get rid of expo markers, right? If I were to sell it as something else, it would be designated for that, right? Window cleaner is designated for cleaning windows. That's why it's a window cleaner, right? Designated matter means that it has a particular purpose, right? You can point to it and you can use it for something. It has been given a form and a purpose. So, let's say I grab this pencil here. Is this designated or undesignated matter?
Undesignated.
Can I point to it?
Yes. Designated.
Then it must be designated. Can I use it?
Yes.
Yes, must be designated. Can I see it? Must be designated. Designated matter individuates a form. Okay? So this pencil is distinct from any other pencil similar to it. Right? This is what makes this pencil. It's designation. Right? In the school database or on your driver's license, each and every one of you has a specific number. Each and every one of you has a different social security number too. Right? That is your designation. That's how we know that John Smith, who lives in Pasadena, California, is not the same John Smith that lives in Plaquemine, Louisiana. Both of them are John Smith, and they might have even been born on the same day to, John Smith Sr. and Betty Smith, right? Same day, same birthday. How are we going to individuate them except by some designation? You have to. Okay? Designated matter deals with actualities. These are things which actually are. Designated matter deals with actualities. Designated matter, actualities. Undesignated matter, right? This is stuff which is potential. It does not have any particular form yet, right? So, I want you to think about it this way. Okay, let's say that I'm a sculptor. Or let's use an example I've used before. Let's say I'm a carpenter, right? I have a bunch of wood in my workshop. Okay? Now, I can turn that wood into just about anything I can imagine. Right? But, have I done it yet? Have I put that wood into a particular shape?
No.
No. So it is undesignated. I have not put it aside for a specific purpose yet. It is potency. It has potential. Now, it is not prime matter in that it is not pure potency, right? Because it exists as wood, right? But it does not yet exist as a table, or a chair, or a desk. These are ideas. Undesignated matter deals with ideas. So I have an idea about how I can use this wood to make a chair, or I have an idea about how I can use it to make a desk, but it is not yet designated for that purpose. I have not decided what it's going to be. It is only an idea, not an actuality. Got that?
A little bit.
A little bit? Need another example? Okay. So, let's see. So Pete, you hungry?
Yeah.
Okay. We established that you like turkey sandwiches, right? Okay. So, let's say you go home. There's a loaf of bread. Okay? What could you use that loaf of bread to make?
A sandwich.
A sandwich, or
Just eat some toast bread.
you have some toast. You make French toast. Right? You turn it into bread pudding. You can turn it into all kinds of stuff. It has lots of potential. Right? Those are all ideas. Right? But it has not yet been designated for any one of those particular purposes. Right?
Right.
Okay? So those are all just ideas. Now, let's say you go home. Right? You grab yourself 2 slices of bread. Right? Maybe 3 if you're hungry. Right? Make a little double-decker. Right? Get you some turkey, mustard, mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Mayonnaise. What about lettuce?
It depends. If I'm just making a regular sandwich, I'm gonna put on the lettuce. Let's go
Right.
to Subway.
Right? So you're going to put all that stuff on there, and then you have designated it as a sandwich, right? That bread has become a sandwich. Okay? It has an actuality to it.
Okay.
It is actually a sandwich. You can point to it, you can eat it, you can use it, right? You can see it. It is individualized as that sandwich, as opposed to the sandwich you make 5 minutes later because that sandwich wasn't big enough. Right?
But like with just bread, you can do all those things too, though.
Yes. That's the point. It's that the bread is undesignated matter.
And the
In this
sandwich
case.
turns it into designated.
And the sandwich turns it into designated because you put it aside to make a sandwich.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah? Good? Yeah. Yes. Okay. So, designated and undesignated matter. It's a hard word to say sometimes. Okay? Finally, substantial and accidental form. Okay. Yesterday we talked about substance and accidents. Today we're going to talk about substantial and accidental forms. Quick review. Substance is what a thing is, right? Accidents are the characteristics of the thing, right? Okay. So, substantial. Substantial form organizes matter into the kind of thing that the substance is, right? So, if I were to take a block of marble and carve it into a statue, I would be giving it a substantial form. Right? Because I would be taking it and making it into the kind of thing that the substance is. I would be taking the matter of marble and giving it the form of statue. Okay? I would be creating. Now, if I were to take that statue and chop off its arms, I would not be creating anything new. I would simply be changing that statue and modifying it, organizing a part of an already existing thing. So, statue with arms and statue without arms, are those both statues? Yes. Are they made of the same matter? Yes. So what I've simply done is change its substantial form into an accidental form. Right? Actually, you guys remember episode of SpongeBob, right? Where how many SpongeBob watchers we got in here? No? Alright. So there's this episode of SpongeBob, right? Where Squidward, right, opens up like an art school kind of thing. Right? And SpongeBob carves this beautiful statue. And Squidward, of course, jealous of SpongeBob's talent, says, "That's not art." And then he slaps a big Squidward nose on it and says, "Now that's art." Right? He has changed that substantial form of statue into an accidental form of ugly Squidward nose statue.
Squidward.
Right? He has taken something which was created by someone else and modified it. A historical example of this, also using statues. So, have you guys ever seen a classical Greek-looking statue? You know, it's made out of marble, usually naked, right? Okay. Now, back in the day, there was this Pope, right? Now, the Vatican has this huge collection of art, right? To keep it safe from the public, so they say, right? So they have this huge collection of art. Right? The popes were very wealthy once upon a time, right? And this Pope decided that he did not like these statues being naked, right? So what he did was he took a hammer and a chisel and he went around getting rid of all of the manhood of these statues, shall we say, right? And now they managed to stop him pretty quickly from destroying these works of art, but safe to say, he took the substantial form of these statues and turned it into an accidental form. Took what the artist created and turned it into something which he modified. Cool. We got all this substantial and accidental stuff? Yes? Yeah? Questions, comments, concerns about any of this stuff? Now we went through it relatively quickly, but I feel like we got it relatively quickly. Nothing? Quiz on Tuesday.
Oh,
You got a question? About anything from substance, accidents, form, essence? Allegory of the cave?
yeah.
Do you know what prime matter is?
Yeah, prime matter. Okay, so prime matter exists in a state of pure potency, right? And as such, right, because it's pure potency, it is undesignated, we can't touch it. Right? It is only potency. It does not actually exist. Because it has been given no active existence. Once a thing is given an active existence, it has some actuality. That's why it's called an act of existence. Right, so this stuff does not exist in a way that we know. But it's more of an idea that there is a prime matter. So this would be the stuff which is in pure potency. You can't really define it because, well, it doesn't really exist. Right? But what you need to know about prime matter is that it is pure potency. Right? Has no form, is totally unformed. So as long as you can remember pure potency and totally unformed about prime matter, that's all I'm going to ask of it for you. Pete, you had a question about Allegory of the Cave?
Yeah.
What about it?
To be honest, don't know.
Were you here when we talked about it on Monday?
Yeah, but I really don't remember it.
You got your handout?
Yes, sir.
Okay, quick rundown of the Allegory of the Cave. Right? This is a dialogue between Socrates and a guy named Glaucon. And the idea here is that Socrates is performing a little thought experiment, saying that if there were a group of men chained underground, such that all they could ever see was one wall, and behind them was a fire, casting shadows onto that wall that they could see. Right? And those shadows were the only things in the world they had knowledge about, because that was all they'd ever seen. From birth, only thing they'd ever seen. Right? And the only thing they'd ever heard was either them talking to each other or the noises made by the puppeteers puppeting the shadows. Right? Okay? But then one day, one of these guys is set free and is dragged from the back of the cave all the way up into the light. And in the course of doing so, he becomes really angry because, he's being roughed up and treated poorly, right? But also, right, he's blinded by the intensity of the light coming from the sun. And so, his eyes have to adjust. It's like going from a dark room to outside. Like leaving a movie theater, okay? And as such, first he can only see shadows. Right, outside. He can only look at shadows because they're nice and dark. Then he can look at reflections, which are a little bit brighter but not too much. Then he can look at the actual things. Okay? And eventually he can look at the sun itself. Now the idea here is that the shadows that he was seeing in the cave, they were shadows of actual things, but they weren't the actual things themselves. More like forms than actual matter, right? They didn't have any real substance to them, right? But once he was able to go out into the real world, he was able to see these things for what they really were, right? So you can see a shadow of a dog or a picture of a dog, but until you actually see and experience a dog yourself, you don't really know about dogs, right? It's kind of like the difference between reading about a place and going to that place. They're two different levels of knowledge. Okay? And after this guy who's been freed experiences all these things, he travels back down to the cave to share his newfound knowledge with his former companions. And of course, going back down in the dark, it takes some time for his eyes to adjust to the darkness of the cave from the light of the surface. And in that time, right, these people who are chained in the darkness are making fun of him. They're like, why should we believe anything you say? Because you can't even see what they know to be reality. Right? So he can't see the shadows on the wall because his eyes haven't adjusted to the dark yet. Right? They're still used to the light. And all these people have ever known are the shadows. And so they think that that is what reality is, even though it obviously isn't. And so they make fun of him like, why should we listen to you? You're so dumb you can't even see the shadows. So they don't pay any attention to him. In fact, they resent him for telling them that they're basically stupid because all they know is these shadows, right? When he knows so much more, all that stuff that exists out there in the world. And so because they're angry at him for doing what he did, they kill him. And we said this was like who?
Jesus.
It's like Jesus. Why?
Because everybody was like, well, like whenever he came to, spread the word.
Right.
Everybody was like not believing him or like against him.
Right. Why?
Because they didn't believe him.
You were telling them stuff you didn't want to hear.
Because he was telling them stuff that they didn't want to hear. So like, for instance, look, the way you've been living your life is wrong. If I told you that, would you be real happy with me? Probably not. Right? And so, they decided, look, the easiest way for us to deal with this is just kill this guy, stop his message. Right? And that's what they did to the guy in the cave. That's what they did to Jesus. Right? So, the cave represents reality as we know it. And the outside world, right, outside of the cave, represents reality as, for instance, God knows it, right? This allegory works on a lot of different levels. Anything that's got, two distinct different modes of existence can be put into the allegory of the cave, which is one of the great things about it. This is hylomorphism, right? The idea that there are two things, two different layers of existence, at the very least. Right? Remember that hylomorphism is all about substance and accidents, and essence and existence, and form and matter. It's basically just saying that there are two levels of existence. What makes stuff up, and what the stuff is. And so, that's how we get to the allegory of the cave. Got it now? Cool?